So again, thank you all for taking the time to learn everything here at SkySlope. Today, we're going to be walking through what your new workflow will be as an agent as you transition over to SkySlope. Today, we will be covering quite a few features, and I do not expect for you to walk away remembering everything that we covered. I don't expect you to walk away feeling as though you've mastered everything from this training. However, if there is one thing that I do want you to leave with, it is the reassurance of always feeling supported by our support team. Our support team is here working around the clock for you, and they have a few different ways that you can communicate with them. If you prefer to pick up the phone, you can expect them to answer by the second ring. If you prefer more of an instant chat, you can expect a response to that within 10 seconds. And then lastly, one of my favorites, we offer a email component. This is great. Maybe you have a list of questions or some screenshots that you want to reference, and you can expect a response to that within 20 minutes. I also highly encourage you to, if you're going through a workflow and you feel stuck or you want clarification on something, you can also call our support team and they can hop on screen shares with you. This is one of my favorite ways to learn. I can tell you that I still contact our support team on a daily basis to get help on certain things that I need. Now, these are going to be your 3 steps here as an agent. Step 1 is always going to begin on our forms portion of SkySlope. Step 2, you will execute any association and or broker forms utilizing our digital signature tool, which we call DigiSign. And then step 3, we're going to go ahead and turn in those executed forms by creating a property file. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop right on over to our SkySlope account. And then this is going to be the main page that you're brought to each and every time. This is what we call SkySlope Suite. And in the upper left-hand corner, we are in my demo account. So you will see the SkySlope logo here. When you're in your actual account, it will be replaced by your brokerage's logo. Now that brokerage logo acts as a home button. So anywhere you are within SkySlope Suite, whenever you want to revert back to your main page, all you need to do is select on that there and it will revert you right back on over to your main page. Now here you're going to be able to see a live toolbar where you're able to see what's scheduled to close, what's active, pending, and you'll also see that those are all hyperlinked. So you could just quickly hop on in there to see that scheduled closing, but it's a quick action way for you to get exactly where you're intended to go. Now, again, our support team is always here to support you. And in addition to them answering your phone call, instant chat, or email, you also have access to this help page at any time. So let's say you want to type in the keyword agent. You will be able to see all the top article results here pertaining to the agent keyword. You have the getting started for agents. It will walk you through step by step on everything that you need to do. And we also have it set for different learning styles. So I know myself, I'm a visual learner. We have videos that will walk you through each step. We also have a bullet point word for word description of the workflow as well to make sure that we are meeting all learning types. You also have the ability to browse by tutorials as well as popular topics that are being browsed at that time. If you do want to take advantage of the chat correspondence with our support team, you will find that on our SkySlope support page in the lower right-hand corner. When you select on that chat icon, you'll enter in your message, start chat, and you'll get that response there within 10 seconds. Now, navigating back on over to our main SkySlope Suite page, this is, again, the page that you're brought to when you log into your SkySlope account. What we're going to do now, though, is we want to walk through the entire flow from start to finish when you have a property that you're ready to start creating a file for. Your first step, no matter who you're representing, is always going to begin on the forms portion of SkySlope. So again, right now we're on SkySlope Suite. We're going to use that apps icon in the upper right-hand corner. We'll get a drop-down box and we want to navigate on over to SkySlope Forms. Now that first option here is going to be where SkySlope Forms is. We'll go ahead and select on that. And this is bringing you over to SkySlope Forms. Now, the first time that you come over into this portion of SkySlope, you will need to do some setup on your end. And we're going to go ahead and walk through that. So when you first log into your account, it will actually already generate for you to add in your library. Because I've been active in my forms library, it is not having me do that pop-up. But basically what that's going to look like is you're going to get this page immediately when you're brought in. And this is so you can go in and add in your association. So you'll see here, again, we're in my demo. I already have Michigan connected. However, if this was your first time, you would just be typing that in. You'd select it from the drop-down, select add, and it will ask for your NRDS number as well as the last name affiliated. Once you confirm that, it will then be saved underneath your connected association libraries, just as you see here. Once you add in your libraries that you're affiliated with, you can add in as many libraries as you are affiliated with. There's no maximum amount that you can have here. The next thing we want you to do is set up your profile. So from the library tab, navigating on over to the profile tab, this is where you're going to enter in your personal information as well as your professional information. Now, one of the most important things for you to do is to add in the regions that you work within. We know that there are certain cases where you might work in different states, so we always want to make sure that those are detailed out. Now, the personal information and then the brokerage information at the bottom, this information, once you input in here, will automatically populate into the association and broker forms that you use within SkySlope Forms. So rather than having to manually enter this information each and every time, this information is automatically going to populate there for you, saving you time from having to manually enter this in each time. But I'm going to take a brief pause and see if there are any questions on the setup. Yeah, Jamie, so you can add in as many associations that you are affiliated with. And then your admin team will be able to assist you in the brokerage information down at the bottom. All right. So the next thing that I want to cover is templates. Up here at the top, you'll see a tab which is called templates. And you're able to go in and create your own personal templates. The purpose of a template is having something already created rather than having to go in and grab documents each and every time. So let's show you what that looks like. We're going to select on Create Template. This is going to be what or who you are representing. So we'll go ahead and select on the seller representation. And then what would we name this? So we'll just go ahead and do this. And then here you're able to go in and add in your association forms. So let's just say we wanted to add these three. What we're doing is we're pulling these documents to live within this template. That way, if you're going in and you're creating a file, you can just grab the template that's already created rather than going in and grabbing those documents each and every time. In addition to that, your brokerage also has the ability to create brokerage templates that they want readily available in your account. Those will be only editable by your admin team, and they can only be added by your admin team. Now back over to our main SkySlope Forms page, we're going to go ahead and start our file creation. So again, just to kind of back up a little bit, when you log into your SkySlope account, this is the page that you're brought to. Anytime that you are ready to start creating a file, we're going to begin on SkySlope Forms. So I just wanted to backtrack to kind of show you the full picture. Our first step is going to be to select on that Create button on the left-hand side. Now, who is the client? We're going to go ahead and put in a seller for our representation today, and then you'll see some fields that we need to enter. Who is our primary client? And then is there a property yet? So you'll see here when I enter in that property, it's pulling that from Google. And then how would you like to name your file? So this is going to be totally up to however you want to name it. Just know that this is going to be how you will locate it on that main forms page. So personal preference of mine, I do like to keep it with the property address. I find that it makes it a little bit easier as you're starting to comb through when you have multiple files. You also have the ability to name it by the primary client, or you can customize this as well. But we'll go ahead and just keep it on the address here. And then would you like to start with one of your templates? Now, I showed you how to create this, but you will see here that it's only pulling over templates pertaining to the seller. Now, if you would have selected a buyer, it would only pull over a buyer template. And this is allowing for you to not have to comb through a bunch of files that might not pertain to your representation. But what we're going to do here is just grab one of our templates and then we'll select create. Jamie, so you can only have either a seller representation or a buyer representation. Now you'll see here that we created our file. Here is the property address that we named this file under. And then our first tab here is going to be forms. So underneath forms, again, this is pulling over the documents that live within that template. Now we also need to go ahead and Jamie, I think that I'll end up answering your question once we get into creating a file. So I'm going to hold off on those and then circle back. Now, we know that there are certain cases where you might need to add in a document that is not necessarily an association or a broker form, and you can add that to your file here. You can select upload document and you'll be able to upload a document directly from your desktop. This will upload as a PDF. So if it's uploaded as a PDF, it will not be fillable like the association and broker forms are, but you'll be able to add in toolbar items, and I'll show you once we get to that portion. And then you can also add in additional association and broker forms. We know that, there might be a one-off form that needs to be added even though you're grabbing a template, and you can select on add forms and it will always take you right back on over to your main library here. Add in a document, and then that will then live within this. So our next step is going to be to start grabbing these documents to be executed over to your client. Now you can select all, it will select every single document to start sending, but for time purposes today, we're just going to grab these two, and you'll see once I select on those, it populates this in the lower right-hand corner, and we're going to go ahead and select fill and send. Now this is leading us through to add in maybe anything else that we want into these fillable fields here. But you'll be able to see that it's grabbing in that personal and professional information. So it really does a great job in being able to bypass having to manually enter in that information. And then you can add in additional information here as well. Once you're ready to move forward, you'll select on prepare signature. And then this is going to give you the envelope name. Now, I like to detail out my envelopes, and I'll show you why. But I'm just going to go ahead and put in the form that I'm sending. Below here are going to be the recipients. So Julia, I've already indicated as the seller, and then I am the seller agent. Now, I don't need to sign anything. I just need to receive a copy. So I'm going to update my action required here, and then we'll move forward. Now, the last page before we officially send this over to our client is going to be walking through DigiSign. And as I mentioned, DigiSign is our fully digital, integrated digital signature tool called DigiSign. And this is where you're going to be able to add in additional toolbar items as needed. So let's say I need to put in a signature or a date. You could do that all before sending this out to your client. You will also have the ability to edit your recipients before sending it out as well. So the three dots here, you'll be able to select edit recipients. Let's say I wanted to add in Michelle here for visibility. And you'll see here that we have signing groups. So what this indicates is I can put Michelle in a signing group too, which means that Michelle won't even see the document until Julia signs it. Once Julia submits her signature, it will then go to Michelle for her to submit her signature. Once all signatures are completed, you will receive a signed document as well as all recipients will receive a signed document as well. Now, the last step is to select send, and this is going to be allowing you to customize how it comes across to your client. Now, again, personal preference of mine, I do like to keep that property address here. Because when you receive this back in your email inbox, think of all of the emails you get. You already know exactly what property this will belong to. And then you can customize this as well. So yes, you can put in multiple people to sign at the same time. If you have them all in signing group 1, you don't indicate a signing group 2, it would be sent for them to sign at once. Now here you'll be able to see it lands on the envelopes tab. And if you remember a couple slides back, I mentioned why I like to detail out my envelopes. The more documents that if you're sending them individually, the more envelope tabs you're going to have here. And if you don't customize the envelope, you're kind of going to have to hop on into them to see what is in each envelope. So I do just like to encourage people to detail it out. That way you could quickly reference the envelope and know exactly what's in it. Now, my next step is going to be, we're going to put ourselves in our client's shoes. I want you to see the email that comes across to your client so you have an understanding of the process that they will go through. We're going to navigate on over to our SkySlope account, and this is how it will come across to them. So they'll be able to see that Shantae has sent. There's that subject line that we detailed out. Here's that personalized message you can include. And then all they need to do is select Get Started. Now, because this is requesting their signature, it has them accept that they agree and they consent that their signature is being requested. And then they can read word for word here. But once they're ready to start signing, they'll select the Start button in the upper left-hand corner, make their signature selection, and then you'll see here, it will walk them through each required field. Now, this is allowing for you to know that you wouldn't be able to get the signed document back if they missed a required field. You'll also notice it didn't take us down any further here, and that's because we met the last required field on behalf of this seller. All they need to do is select Finish Signing, and then they can download this there for their reference. Now, going back on over to our SkySlope Envelopes tab, you'll see that that status has automatically been updated to completed, and that is all set for that specific envelope. Now, each envelope that you have underneath this tab, you will have these three dots, and those three dots will allow for you to download the envelope. And then the one thing that I really like to focus on is view the history of the envelope. SkySlope started for compliance, and we like to put that compliance into every feature that we possibly can. So let's say Julia were to call us and say, hey, I still haven't received the contract. Just to quickly reference, you could hop on into the activity log of that envelope and see, actually, Julia, it looks like you viewed it on January 23rd at 10:19 a.m. So you really have a quick way to reference the activity for that envelope tab. But I am going to go ahead and take a brief pause and see if there are any questions. Jamie, I'm hoping that the next demo will answer the 2 files for the transaction. And then Michelle, I'm not sure if you can help answer the MLS code that Jamie is referring to.
I'll have to look into it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So our next step is going to be, we've created our forms file. This is how you will locate the forms file on our forms page. Now we want to navigate back to where we began, which is SkySlope Suite. So we're going to go back to that apps icon, and now we're going to transition back to SkySlope Suite because now we want to give this a property file to live within. We created and executed our forms property. Now we want to create a property file. Our next step is going to be to select this Create New button. Depending on who we were representing on that forms side would lead to our next step. If Julia was a buyer, we would select on Create New Transaction. Because Julia was a seller, we're going to select Create New Listing. Now, the nice thing here is everything is integrated into one platform. So rather than having to go in and enter in this information again, we want to pick up where we left off. So what we're going to go ahead and do is grab that property. Give me 1 second here. And you'll see here that when we enter into that Q bar, it's pulling up our forms file that we just created. So we just want to pick up where we left off. We're going to grab that top file, and it's going to walk us through the next step. So this is where you get to select your checklist. The checklists are already entered into your account. Your admin team did a lot of manual work on their end to make sure you have everything readily available. So we'll enter this in. The listing price. Please know that if you entered this into one of the forms file, this would automatically populate there for you. And then we'll just finish the rest. You'll see the seller information already populated for us. We'll enter in the commission. And then just like that, we've created our file. Now you'll see different tabs here up at the top. First one here is the listing tab. This is going to store all information pertaining to this specific listing. So you'll see all of this information here. You have your contacts tab, any contact affiliated with this, and then the checklist tab. This is going to be your most frequently used tab. This is where you're going to be able to see what's required on your behalf and what is if applicable. Now, a few different ways for you to go in and add the documents to the checklist. Let's say one of those lives on your desktop. You could drag and drop that into here. You can also select attach, and it will take you to grab something from your desktop. Or you can select on attach, and you can grab something over from your documents tab. Now, from that, I want to go ahead and show you probably one of my favorite features within SkySlope, and that's going to be this property-specific email that you see here. Anytime that you create a listing, anytime that you create a transaction, it also automatically populates this email specific that is specific to this property. Now, what you're able to do with this email is CC it on your correspondence with your client. So think of all of the documents that you and your clients send back and forth to each other. If you CC this email onto that correspondence, those PDFs will automatically save in your Documents tab. So let's show you how that works. We're going to reference an email from Julia that she sent me earlier this week. And she sent me over a packet that lives within the body of this email. And I'm going to select forward, put in that property specific email, and press send. So what we're doing is, rather than downloading the packet, uploading the packet to where it's intended to be, we want to take out as much manual work as we possibly can. And we want to get that exactly where it's intended to be, which again is going to be on that Documents tab. So let's go ahead and navigate right on over to the Documents tab here. And you'll be able to see that that listing packet is already waiting for us, as well as those 2 association forms that we started on the form side. This furthermore just illustrates the benefit of having everything integrated into one platform, is because it's already exactly where it's intended to be. But I'm going to go ahead and take a brief pause and see if there are any questions regarding what we just covered.
Yeah, so you're saying that if we just copy the email and we send out a document to our client and we CC that email on there, instead of us coming in and uploading it here, you will automatically receive that once it's received back to us in real time?
Yep, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, of course. And to further do that, moving on over to the log tab, you'll be able to see that email was sent and there's a hyperlink. So when you select on that email received, it'll also include the body of the email as well as the attachment that we sent over. Sandra, when you say, will we receive an email of SkySlope activity, do you mean like, will you receive an email confirming the document's been signed? Yes. Once the document is officially signed by all parties will receive a fully signed document. There was a question above Sandra's, will we be able to simply bring them into Office and complete all forms and then have admin double check? Can you elaborate on that? If you want to unmute yourself.
Basically, we used to have an envelope with all of our listing forms and all of our buyer forms, and they were available at the office in our file, the main file behind the admin desk. Um, I'm an old draftsman. I spent 45 years at General Motors dicking around with computer stuff, and I detest computer stuff unless my client is down in Austin, Texas, or San Francisco, or someplace like that. So I like to bring them into the office. It used to be in the old days, CITO, come into the office. Can we still do that conveniently?
To an extent, yes, you can download those association forms. But then you'd have to email it into yourself. So, we want to kind of transition everybody to be online, but for those cases, you can definitely print them out. You would just need to scan them in to the property email address, or scan them in to your account.
Okay, so in other words, we're doing the work that the admins used to do when they received a listing packet from us.
Kurt, we have those packets available in the copy machines. This is Norma.
Okay, great.
And they're available in the copy machines that the admin can help you get it out. So,
Great.
okay,
That's all I needed to know.
thank you.
Thank you
Thanks.
both. Anthony asked, what happens with the email when a seller has more than one home for sale? So that would require an additional file, and that file would then be attached to that email. Okay. So the next feature that I want to cover is going to be splitting apart documents. So I want you to imagine those large packets that you get from clients, and maybe you're currently printing them out, you're separating them, uploading them. You have the ability to split apart those large packets all within SkySlope. So what we're going to do is we're going to select on that listing packet that we sent from Julia, and then we're going to go ahead and select that split button on the right-hand side. And then here we do have an AI component. The more times that you split apart the same document, the more it will start to learn and then just do it for you. But I'm going to clear it for now. And we're going to go ahead and select on the new document tab here. And this is pulling over our checklist. So this is pulling over that checklist that we just came from. And I know that my agency agreement is on here. And then we'll just detail out what pages they belong on. So agency agreement, seller advisory, and you could go through and add as many as you would like. So what we're doing here is we're splitting apart this document, and you could choose to just split. If you select on just split, it's going to split apart the documents and store it underneath the documents tab. However, we're going to select split and assign, which is still going to store those documents, but it's also going to assign those 3 documents to your checklist. So let's select on split and assign. And then we're going to go ahead and select go to checklist. So you'll see here that those once required statuses are now reflecting in review. And that is indicating that your job for those documents at this time are done. It is now in the hands of your admin or in the hands of your manager's team to go in and either approve or deny a document. Hey, Jamie, can you let me know what a PA is, just to make sure?
It's a purchase agreement.
Purchase agreement. Will the forms auto-populate the listing info into a purchase agreement? So all of the auto-populating is going to be done on the form side. Whatever you're able to have auto-populate into the forms that you're executing, that would remain there. This side is pulling over the details of the forms file and creating a property, and then you'll just need to go in and attach the items here. Yeah, so navigating back on over to split and assign, you don't have to use it, Sandra, so don't feel obligated, but it is a great feature that a lot of our clients have great feedback with. So if you know that one large packet contains multiple items that you need attached to the checklist, that's the purpose of splitting it, is rather than printing it out, separating the pages, and then getting that over to your checklist, you're able to grab a large packet, select split, and then you can split apart those documents. So let's say I know that is on page, beginning from page 1 to 4. That's how you're splitting apart. Does that make sense, Karen?
Yes, it makes more sense now. But
Okay.
but when you assign it, so the split is going to show the document split at the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Then when you assign it, I'm trying to figure out how that assign part works a little more.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you're assigning it, we'll go ahead and select on this, and then we'll just select split. So when you're assigning it, what you're doing is you're picking an item from your checklist to assign it to. So you're splitting apart a document, but you're also attaching it to the designated spot on the checklist.
Oh, okay.
So when you split and assign, you split one and that doc was attached to your checklist. So we'll go ahead and select go to checklist, and this is already, that's where you assigned it to. So that's where it takes that required status into in review, is because you've attached that document there.
Okay. Okay.
Now, anytime that your managers go in and they approve or deny a document.
Thank you, by the way.
Oh, of course, Karen. anytime that you go in or anytime that they go in and either approve or deny a document, it will also send you over an email. So always feel rest assured that you're going to know exactly what's going on because it's always going to communicate that to you. We'll go ahead and navigate back to my demo, and this is what you will see. So let's just say Michelle sent over your checklist. We'll select on in here, and then you'll be able to go to checklist. So from this email, you'll know exactly what property this belongs to, and then you will have a bird's eye view of the checklist. You'll be able to see here, listing agreement's good to go. She approved it. Still need to get in a copy of the MLS printout because this is a required document. And then you will see if any time that they denied a document, it will come back as incomplete. They do have the ability to detail out why they denied it. So here you'll be able to see missing signature on page 2, which means that you could select on go to checklist and get that missing signature completed because you already know what you need to do. April, if that seller's disclosure is in your association library, it will be a fillable item being sent out. And then Lynn, Michelle, I believe that might be a question for you.
Are you talking about sending the forms to the management team?
Yeah.
That is not optional. All managers will check all pendings.
Jamie, same thing. If that document is in forms, it will populate there for you. To keep us on track for our demo today, I'm gonna have to continue, but you're more than welcome to play around with that once you get into your account, to see how that auto-populates the information. Now, at any time, if something is uploaded to a checklist and you're like, actually, I shouldn't have done that yet, you can select on this X here and then select remove, and it will always revert back to its original status. Now, at any time, let's say you have a buyer that's interested and you're ready to convert this into a transaction, you will select on the accepted contract button here. You would select accepted contract and then convert this into a accepted contract. So what that would do is it would continue to keep all of your listing information and it would convert this into a transaction. So we'll quickly kind of show you. So it's going to grab the same exact information. So you're converting, maybe you did the sale and now you're converting it into a transaction. It's going to keep everything in one file. And Jamie, I think that might answer your other question from earlier is you'll be able to convert it to a transaction and manage both. Now, going back on over to our main SkySlope suite page, we've walked through creating a new transaction, creating a new listing. The more listings that you create, you can select on view listings. Yes, Jamie, you can start with the create transaction. As I mentioned, when I select on create new, if we were representing the buyer, that's what we would have done. Because Julia in our demo today was a seller, we selected on create listing, but it's the same exact workflow. Now, view transactions, same thing. So the more transactions that you create, the more you'll be able to view here in that. So let's go ahead and navigate on over to manage transactions. And this is going to show you all of your transactions. So we'll go ahead and hop on into the top one here. Jamie, so on the forms portion, as long as the MLS, you can import whatever information that reads into SkySlope, but there will be some manual entry as well. Now, this is what the transaction portion looks like. You'll see it looks pretty similar to the listing file. Instead of the listing tab, it's now been updated to the transaction tab. One thing to also keep in mind is if you're creating a listing, you can only pull one checklist for that listing. If that listing is converted into a transaction, you will then have the ability to choose one transaction checklist once it's converted into the transaction file. Same contacts tab, any contact affiliated with this. And then just to show you what that looks like though, you can see the seller and the purchaser all from this. And then the next one is going to be the commission tab. So this is where you're going to detail out all of the sales price, the listing commission, sales commission. Same exact checklist tab. This is now going to reflect sales documentation rather than listing. But and you scroll all the way down, you'll see that your listing documentations came over with this. So it will keep everything as one file. Documents tab we've covered. It will store all documents here for you. And then the log tab as well. It will show any activity within the log. Now, at any time, you can go in and you can cancel a transaction. And when you do that, it's going to ask, as long as this originated from a listing file, it's going to ask if you would like to reactivate your original listing. So what that's going to do is it's going to cancel the transaction portion. It will be sent to your admin or your manager team to fully cancel out. And then it would, as long as you chose yes, it would then reactivate your original listing. Now, in between here, you'll have a more drop down, and this is going to show you some additional items that you can choose from. If you closed out an item and archived a file, you could quickly navigate into Access Archives. Again, SkySlope was created for compliance, so nothing is ever deleted from SkySlope. It's simply reorganized. If you canceled a contract, if you archived a file, rather than combing through all of your transactions, you could simply just quickly hop on into Access Archives or canceled contracts to quickly locate that file. Now, you also have the ability to set yourself tasks and reminders, allowing for you to keep to be on top of those as well. And then the last thing that I want to show you is working documents. Think of working documents as a filing cabinet, and you'll see here it led us on over to personal docs. This is a filing cabinet that only you individually have access to. So feel free to organize folders, upload documents that you want readily available in your account, because only you will have access to this. As we scroll down, we're going to be able to see that there is a DigiSign portion on our SkySlope Suite side. So we went through DigiSign when we were sending out our forms file. And again, DigiSign is our integrated digital signature tool. And you can also send out documents. Maybe you're being proactive. You don't quite have a property file created and you want to just send something over to your agent to quickly, or just to your client to quickly sign. To do so, you would select create new envelope and you'd select on no property, because again, in this situation, we don't have a property yet created. So here we're going to go ahead and select on upload document. And we're just going to go ahead and select on a random form here and then select next. Now, what this is going to do is allow for us, just as we walked through earlier, put in our recipients, and then the next page would allow for you to add in those toolbar items that we covered on the forms portion as well. Now, once that's signed, you might be thinking, well, if it doesn't have a property, it doesn't belong to a forms file, where does that get stored? And that gets stored underneath that working documents tab that we just came from. So working documents, if something is executed to a client, again, without a file created, it will be stored automatically underneath your personal docs tab. Then let's say you go in and you finally create a listing or a transaction file. Once you create either a listing or a transaction, you would just quickly navigate over to that document and then select assign. From the assign, it would then allow for you to quickly assign that document to your recently created file. So super easy to get that document that you may have been proactive with and have it stored within the intended file once created. Now here on the right-hand side, the one thing that I will request for you to do is to go over to your name in the upper right-hand corner and then go down to my account. From my account, this is where you can enter in your personal information. And then the one thing that I like to do is your notifications. This is how you can detail out how you want to be notified. If you want, say, email me 3 days before the listing expires, you just toggle that on and then select save. Can you change the name of the transaction? So to show you what that looks like, if you hop on in here, go over to the transaction. You don't necessarily have the ability to update it as it's pulling over the property. Or it's naming it based off of the address here. Now that pretty much covers everything I wanted to cover here in our agent training today. I know I did a lot of talking. It's just because there's so many great features that you are going to have access. Edit the address. So when you hop on in here and you have already created the file. Actually, let me do one that I made. That way we could see. Give me 1 second. So these would be the fields that you can edit here. Street name, so you could update that. And then the street number as well. Sandra, that's going to be a question for Michelle, but I can let you know that we already have another agent training scheduled for next week. And broker MLS number information. Jamie, can you let me know what MLS information you're referring to? And Tim, whenever your managers start sending out your welcome emails, you guys are more than welcome to start using it. I do highly recommend for you guys to create some test files, get familiar with the workflow. When you run into questions, please start to contact support. They're here for you. They're readily available. They can hop on into screen shares and walk you through one by one. That way you really start to get familiar.
Hi, on profile, it asks for broker information, including broker MLS number. That's what I'm referring to.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, reach out to your managers and they should be able to assist you with the information for this section.
Jamie, we'll find out and get it to you.
Thank you.
If anything expires, then you can always go in and edit the expiration date. So let's say SkySlope, we'll just hop on into here. And then you'll be able to go in and update that expiration date. Lynn, are you referring to on the form side? If you're referring to that, you could select those 3 dots and select rename here if needed. Julie, if you want to reach out to support, they'll be able to assist you with setting up your NRDS number. Michael, there is a directory on SkySlope Suite. We do not have one on SkySlope Forms. It is a highly requested feature. The more that you add it within Forms, your Google Chrome will remember it, so it will auto-populate. However, if you hop on into my account, and then you'll see the directory here, you can add in the directories for yourself here. Andre, there is an app for the forms and DigiSign portion. If you just go to your app store, you can download that. And then Karen, Michelle, I believe that's a question there for you.
I'm looking for the answer.
Okay. Yes, Janice. All right. Well, while Michelle's getting that answer, I just want to go ahead and thank you all again for attending today's training. As I mentioned in the beginning, I do not expect you to walk away being experts. However, I do want you to walk away feeling that you know you can contact support, utilize our support page, and really get familiar with everything that SkySlope has to offer. Hopefully, we'll see everybody in attendance next week for our second agent training. But I appreciate you all taking the time to join us here today.
Karen, are you referring to transaction desk through Galar, GLAR?
Yes. Will
So,
that still be something we can use or no longer?
no, you're still you're a Galar member. You'll have access to transaction desk. We just hope you will utilize SkySlope because it's our new transaction
Okay. All
system.
right. Wonderful. Sounds good. Thank you. I just didn't know if it was what was going to be a discontinued time frame so I could make sure that I was fully acclimated.
No, you are good.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
And I'm pretty sure that we will push out all the invites for agents after our training next week so that everybody has a chance to attend the training before we start opening it up to everybody. So look for it next week.
Okay, awesome. All right, then. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak here with me, and we'll see you all next week. Lynn, can you elaborate on that one?
Remind is an MLS.
Can remind files be transferred?
It's through RealComp.
Oh, okay. So you won't be able to transfer any files over to SkySlope, but you can create them and have it mirrored, then utilize the property address within a listing or transaction file to transfer over any documents that you might have in there.
And Sandra, if you're still on, you can start practicing in SkySlope at any time. And yes, we will do our best to help you out in the office.
And just again, support.
Support,
time.
support.
Just in case you guys didn't know. All right. Well, I appreciate you all, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.